We have our back by popular demand, biggest, most listened to podcast guest of 2023.
Woohoo!
So Sarah Lindsay, Raising the Curve episode 70, if you have not listened, is one of our most listened to episodes ever. It's called Embracing Your Broken Pieces and Buying Expensive Shoes with Sarah Lindsay. So she is originally from the UK. Mm-hmm. She moved to New Zealand with her partner several years ago and has started an incredible business called SALA, which we both love.
Absolutely love.
Big fans.
And she's got the gorgeous little girl called Ophelia.
But Sarah's so open with the way that she deals with money, with business, with relationships, with everything. And we wanted to get her back on to talk more about building a business from nothing, because it's one of those things often I think you perceive in order to be successful in business, you need a huge amount of capital, you need to know all the right people, but this is a really inspiring story about the idea of starting with nothing and being able to build something incredibly lucrative.
Yeah, and I think there's also a perception that there is a lack of person behind the business, and she talks a lot about creating a really community-led, safe space, all the little things she does and how she always puts her customers first. And I think it's just interesting when you see such success or a beautiful space or a place you go regularly or something. It's really a good reminder to remember there's always someone behind that. There's a person to the brand or to the company.
Who have worked very hard to bring that to life. Yeah, you'll love it. And if you haven't listened to the first, part one of this conversation, it's episode 70, Raising the Curve, episode 70. Highly recommend going back to listen. This is round 2. Do you know the only podcast guest we've had for round 2?
Can't wait to disappoint you.
No, haven't?
Guest. Sorry, guest.
Your podcast that we did with you last year, for anyone that has not listened, it's Raising the Curve episode 70, and it's quite a dramatic title actually, Embracing Your Broken Pieces and Buying Expensive Shoes with Sarah Lindsay. This was downloaded nearly 10,000 times.
Whoa. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I
crazy.
added a bit of GST. It was about 9,000.
We round up.
A lot. Yeah. And we had so many messages about it. It was one of the most open, beautiful conversations that we've had. And I would love to know what the feedback you got was. Has anyone said to you?
I actually got so much feedback after it, and me and Josh sometimes talk about it. Actually, has been a really pivotal time in the studio, because I think that SALA has grown so much in such a short amount of time that everyone just assumed that we had a trust fund. And I think people listening, not only to the fact we didn't have a trust fund, but how hectic my childhood was. I think people just were like, oh wow, you've actually really had to build this business. And I think there was definitely a lot of people went out of their way to say, sort of thank you for creating this in the community. But I think a lot of people had just assumed that we were being given money to do SALA and didn't really realize how much sacrifice we were making.
Do you think that's why you didn't share the story publicly for a long time? Because you didn't want to be defined by that?
100%. I think that, so I obviously, all my friends that I grew up with know that story. Josh knows that story. But when I told that story via you guys on the curve, which I almost didn't even mean to, it just was the right moment. I realised I hadn't shared it the whole time I'd lived in New Zealand, which is so strange that I'd become so separate from it. But I also realised it was actually very cathartic, and I felt as though it was closing on a loop for me, and it was really a part of the healing journey. I didn't realise that had to happen, that I had to integrate the parts of my life and my London and Auckland life. But I realised I actually unconsciously, deliberately hadn't shared that story because I felt shamed that people would define me by that story, and that I wouldn't be able to build a story off such a dramatic backdrop. And I suppose coming to the area of Ponsonby, being the first place I lived in New Zealand, without even knowing all the politics of every suburb, and you can feel the wealth, and I think I felt really embarrassed that I was coming without it.
And I think there's also an element of respect from anyone who now goes to SALA or goes to your community space, and they can see the literal blood, sweat and tears that you've poured into that.
There's not blood on the ground, just anyone that goes there and they're like, ew.
But in terms of it gives a business a human element, or like, and it gives, it's not just a business. There is actually a soul behind that business, and you have put in so much effort and sacrificed so much to create that space for everyone to enjoy. I don't know. It's
but
kind
I
of
respect that you didn't share it
yeah,
earlier.
totally.
Because
No,
I think
yeah.
a lot of people, when you watch those shows that are like Britain's Got Talent, and there's someone and she's like, like I lost my job when I was 4,
Yeah.
and like whatever.
You get the pity element.
Whereas I think you purposefully leaned on your skill set, which is being an incredible yoga teacher. Creating a space that was defying the odds of not having resource or a network to build a successful business without being like, poor me, look what I've been through. And I think that's incredibly admirable.
Did you find post the podcast that people were a bit more, I guess, respectful and could now see SALA as you're having that human element attached to it? It is very much your baby and like everything that you've put into it and what you were wanting to create. Do you think there was like an element of respect rather than this is just a business that's been born
also,
out of
how people think, $30 for a yoga class, fuck that.
Yeah.
Do you think there's been maybe a change of perspective on spending that money when you understand the backstory of someone's business and how much goes in behind the scenes? It's not just turning up and telling someone to go into a downward dog,
I think definitely in the short term, both those things, I think that people have very short memories. And
good thing we're doing another podcast.
So we really need to I need a different origin story this time that's a little sadder. So.
You can be like...
Comes in with a wig and she's like, hi, I'm
from Tennessee,
like people are so... embedded in their own stories that there's a very short time frame that people have capacity even to change behavioral habits. And, I'm also probably within the community quite a polarizing person in general because I have such strong boundaries. And when you are used to being a consumer with businesses that think the customer's always right, someone having boundaries just seems like you're not being treated very nicely. It's,
that's kind of
a symbiotic relationship.
Can you speak more to that? Because boundaries, I think, whether it's relationships, friendships, personal boundaries, business boundaries, is kind of becoming a new buzzword, but I don't think it's been defined very well, and I don't think a lot of people understand. So could you maybe speak to how you have implemented some of those boundaries within business and how it's affected things? Because I remember in our last podcast you speaking about making a fee if someone didn't turn up to a class and how people were like, this is ridiculous. Would that be an example of a boundary?
100%. And I think that you have to, boundaries within a workplace, I think also feed into the sort of business that you want to run, the flow of it all. So for example, there's this concept that I think was never meant to be taken so literally of the customer's always right. I would like to speak as someone that believes the customer is not always right, and sometimes they are very wrong. And so, but it wasn't supposed to be taken so literally, and it was sort of meant to just empower customers in a time where they weren't given much respect, like in the 70s. But for example, you have to think about like the fullness of your business. So a boundary for me is you cannot enter a class late because that's disruptive to the teacher and to other people in the class. So the boundary is you cannot enter late. So if someone is so used,
I saw the post about that the other day, and it was like circled, and it was like if you were late, it was like, oh, I was like, someone's obviously a bit of a complaint.
Pissed Sarah off again.
But no, fair enough.
You've got to think about customer service. What is customer service? If I let this person in and they get their own way and they feel like they've received good customer service, what about the other 30 people having to shuffle their map even though they made the effort to come on time, and the teacher having to start the class again and everyone losing 4 minutes of the class because everything gets disrupted? So who got the good customer service? And so you can't please everyone. And so I think you have to set those boundaries. If there's no boundary, it's like try and make it on time, then no one will try and make it on time. Everyone will try and just make it fit their time. I'm on the other side of town. I know I won't make it, but I'm going to just try, And so it's making people responsible for themselves, but also responsible to the community, which is something that I really push and is a constant reconditioning that it's not every man for themselves when you enter this building. I know that we live in a society that teaches us that only one of us can get the gold star, but actually we can all get the gold stars if you all just come on time. I will happily give all of you a gold star.
Love that.
I think I do really well with a star chart, by the way. If you could maybe whip one up, I think I'd
in the studio. Sophie's
star.
star chart. Yeah. I find that a real struggle though, especially being a small business and starting out, is that every customer deserves your respect and your, I don't know, and I find it really difficult bowing down to or not bowing down to one customer when I'm so scared that they could go out and cancel us or make a big song and dance, and it could be way more detrimental than just being like, oh, I'll let them in. Or,
what about the email example we got the other day? Someone emailed us being like, hey, just want to let you know that I can't read your emails. The colour scheme's not great. And I was like, this is so classic me, people pleaser. Panic, sent it to our whole team. And I was like, who else can't read this email? And Vic's like, calm down, mate. It's one person.
I was like, we've been sending this to thousands of people for months. But I was also like, the time that it would have taken, now we have to pay all those people that have read the email to, in terms of our contractors. I was like, oh, now they've just taken time working on something else to read. I was like, oh,
our brains work so differently.
Yeah. But we also we got another email the other day, and this kind of comes back to the whole customer service thing, because I was like, she's like, hey, I didn't get any email reminders about the live that we had.
Which is for our online course, which we're running at the moment.
And I was sitting there and I checked and I was like, nope, she's got them and she's opened them and she's opened both of them and she's, you can see when an email's been opened. But I was like, how do I then go back to someone like that and say,
I just say, I can Well, no, I just respond saying, well, based on what I can see from my end, here's when you open the email. That's what I send. So my boundaries are,
see, mine are down here.
Do you know,
because I was like, I'm so sorry.
Maybe it ended up in the spam folder.
Literally, that's exactly what I said. And I was like, oh gosh, I need to just stamp. And then I was really kind of pissed off at myself. And then, but I'm so scared about being cancelled.
When you've gone against your own boundaries and core values because you feel icky about the interaction, of course you're going to ignite that inner fire when you have to stamp down the boundary. But it's better in the short term to have those fictitious kind of conversations with tricky people than the long term of getting burnt out because you are just constantly saying the same things. I actually have a few points on that I would like to add. It's kind of just about boundaries and what they are.
I just also want to, before we get into your list, which no doubt will be very helpful, we're always like, give us feedback, let us know. And we actually do mean that, by the way. It's not that we're like, oh, we got this email from someone saying change.
Sorry.
Just to clarify. It's more just the fact of knowing when to action something and when to hold your own. And
you're right, Sophie. So I was like, boundaries. And it's like, I've got boundaries, but do I?
Yeah,
how do I know? How do I know what they are? How do I set them? How to
boundaries.
Control them? It's like... Yeah, I feel like I've got boundaries, and then very quickly I don't.
I think boundaries, I personally see boundaries aren't being mean or, being selfish. It's here's where I end and here's where you begin. Here's the resources that I have, both energetically, emotionally, physically, financially. Here's where I can meet you and here's where you have to meet me back. And there's a membrane between them. Otherwise, if there is no boundary and they can just constantly flood all the way into you, taking all of your resource, extracting all of your energy, there's nothing left to create. And so the thing that they want from you will actually disintegrate. You can't run the podcast because you've had to reply to every customer service email, giving them 10 out of 10, even though actually these people aren't reading the email properly. You don't have the energy to do the next one. So who really won? And so I think, and it's implementing boundaries in a way that is clear. There are times that a customer will message and you'll be like, oh, that actually wasn't worded very clearly. Thank you for showing me that so I can create a new system that's more helpful for more people in the future. My little customer service boundary list is setting boundaries with customers, which will also help to empower other members and staff. Everyone knows where they stand, so no one's trying to dob each other in, which is something that definitely happens. 2 members of staff, awesome. 3, someone tries to gang up on the other one. It's just survival of the fittest out here. Humans just
work suck, don't they?
Be willing to walk away. Not everyone's your customer. Like, you don't need every single person.
We
If
do.
someone is very fictitious
Look at
and
our
causes
accounts.
We need every
definitely do. No, you're right.
And
Not
like,
everyone's
I'm-
going to like your yoga class or your
Yeah.
podcast or your
not
course.
everyone, like, you know, not everyone's your customer. That's okay. And in fact, if you try and please everyone, the people that are really your people who will be loyal to you and have the same vision and respect the work you're doing will leave because they'll be like, oh, it's been diluted. Because you're having to dilute to be the mainstream because you're trying to please everyone. So again, like, by not setting the boundary, in the short term, you've kept Joe Blogs who emails you every day complaining, but you've lost Jen Blogs who really loved your work and now has to go find another community and really needed that work. Set boundaries in writing. I say this
With yourself?
to yourself, but for the community to say, these are the rules, this is the etiquette, these are the boundaries, this is how we meet one another.
You're like, we need to do this.
You know?
With ourselves internally?
I think personally, I need to do like financial boundaries as well, and like personal boundaries, work boundaries.
Oh, God.
And you
I just
guys
feel like
should
then I'd
be like
stressed
really,
out
you
because there's
know,
so many
I'll be
boundaries,
like,
so
I'm
many
just going
rules.
to check my boundary list.
Yeah.
and you guys will also have very different boundaries. So it's also recognizing each other's. You know, some people don't mind
Like, we'll put a
replying to
meeting at
emails.
6 a.m.
I know,
and
mine
I'm
be like,
fuck
I only
off.
work from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. and so will be like, I only start work at 10. You're like, our boundaries will misalign so much. We won't have a business.
Close the business.
Close, it's done. And then be clear with your brand ethos and culture and solidify that with your team and take them on the journey. So if your team members aren't online with the boundaries, and I'm going to give you an example of a boundary. Every single day, I finish work at 3 p.m. because I pick up Ophelia. And when I pick up Ophelia, I do not respond to emails because she did not ask to be born. I decided to bring her into the world. And so first and foremost, bringing up the next generation of awake people is what's important, more important than what anything else I can do at SALA. And so that's my priority. And so every day at 3, I am not answering. SALA could be on fire and I'm out of office. Sorry.
God, I
Love
could
that.
learn from that.
And so but I'm back on the clock at 7 when she goes down to bed. So then I work from 7 p.m. But that's my boundary. When I'm with Ophelia, I'm a mother. So someone got my phone number. This was only a couple of weeks ago. Someone got my phone number and called. So I picked up the phone. Very
Is this after 3?
Very unmillennial of me to pick up a random phone number. But
I
I
never
like,
do.
and I know.
I
but I
always
picked
do.
up the
I'm like,
phone.
who is it?
And
Have I won
someone's
$1 million?
like, hey, I've got a SALA voucher and I don't know how to use it online. I'm like, hey, can you just email hello@SALA.studio and someone will get back to you? I'm like, I did. And I was like, oh, sorry, no one's got back to you. When? Half an hour ago. Someone's calling me because they haven't received a response to their email half an hour ago. It's 5:30 p.m. anyway. And I was like, well, I'm sorry. I'm actually not working right now, but I'll look into it tomorrow. And she's like, well, I'm talking to you. Can't you just do it now? I was like, oh, I'm actually with my daughter. I don't work after 3. And she was like, well, you should put that online, your working hours. And I just said to her straight on the phone, I was like, I don't need to tell you or ask permission to be a mother. I am a mother before I'm a worker, and I just hang up on her. She'll never come back. I've lost that customer. You know, there's a study that says one toxic, very high-performing person is worse for your business than multiple low-performing but invested people. Just takes one toxic person to fuck everything up, so you've got to push them
What
out.
happens if it's your business partner?
Get her out. Sophie, you're out.
Okay, I would love to talk to you about the capitalist business. Sorry, do you have something you want to
No, it was just like that conversation. I'm like, I hands down would have dropped everything, logged on, and been like, sorry, give me the voucher
And that
number and I'll do it now.
person would have spent her $50 voucher and she would have never come back anyway. So you did all that effort for $50. And it's not about the money. You know, I know it's easy to say, but the thing is, I got into this work. I came from nothing. I'm going to end up as nothing. When my bones are rotting in the ground, I'm going to have nothing either. I don't really care about what I make in the middle, but what's your legacy? You know, what's legacy? I don't need to leave a yacht behind or a house. My legacy will be my children saying, my mom really cared about people. My mom really wanted to help people connect with their true purpose and their best selves. And my mom was at every dance recital and every after work activity, no matter what was happening at work. And that's my legacy.
Shit. I'm like, Okay, I've got some serious thinking to do before I bring any tiny humans into
I
the
know.
world.
It's been a really confronting day.
I would like to take a step backwards to talk about the idea of capitalism, business, family connection. How do all of those things coexist in a way that allows you to have a thriving business from a financial aspect, as well as, like, I think what I really struggle with the curve, and I don't know if there's other business owners, or it doesn't, you don't even have to be in business. It's just work and capitalism and family and life. How can we live in the society that is currently existing for us to need to earn money, to spend money, to live out? Like, I feel sometimes exhausted, and I can go one way or the other. I could either quit the curve, go and live in a commune in the middle of Mexico and meditate for my entire life.
Please don't.
Or I struggle to sit on my meditation cushion and I struggle to connect with myself within a business element. And I just wonder, given the fact that your entire business model is based on connecting people, do you ever struggle with that push and pull?
So I got two answers. They kind of feed into the same reservoir. The irony that I'm talking about, like, capitalism, I'm wearing like these Lent earrings from Nevaeh and Sloan that are huge diamonds. But, that's the juxtaposition of my vast personality, that I can be everything at once. And so, that's everything. That's being human. So I've got two things. One is a motto I live my whole life by, is you can do anything, but not everything. Mm-hmm. That goes not only into work, I work in sprints.
Sorry, and what is a sprint?
So I work in
it's
3 months.
thing as well.
I work in 3 month sprints. And so right now, my current sprint is in studio upgrades. So we're doing a scan toggle system rather than keys. I'm going on to a Connect app.
The sprint is the idea that she sections her work into 3 month focuses. So she's like,
Okay.
these 3 months, I'm going to focus on just this. Don't even talk to me about recruiting or teaching, upskilling my staff.
But I tell
I'm
the
not thinking
team
about
and
it.
I tell them what the next one is, so that we're in the sprint. So anything you need in this sprint, I will do now.
Gotcha.
But if you message me about the next sprint or something else, I'm not even responding. I'll leave you on read. So that's my boundary. But so I can do this sprint really well and thoroughly. This is the sprint. If when I get to that one, you go, oh, by the way, I wanted that. Well, you're going to have to wait until I come back around. So that one is out. And so that just makes my work manageable. As manageable, and sustainable as much as it can be as a one person running a studio that has 100 classes a week, 30 instructors, 10 receptionists, thousands of people emailing. It's not sustainable. Like Josh, actually, right now is in conversations with his work to go to 4 days a week at his work and 1 day a week at SALA.
Amazing.
Yes, Josh,
SALA is going to have
goodness.
the biggest glow up when an actual hard-working person is in there. It's going to be so
we're not doing that.
like, Josh is going to really, really solidify it.
I love Josh. I only met him the other day for the first time. He
He's
bought
a
us
10 out of 10.
He bought us both a cocktail and then just left us to it. I was
Best
like,
kind of man.
Oh, yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Cool. Who are you?
He's
Like,
actually also going to sit down and have a chat. It's not just like, hey, how are you? Good. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
It's
engaged.
like, yeah. So, he's great.
on brand.
He's on brand. He really works for the
did well.
sprint.
Yeah.
We'll see how I feel on my next one.
So back to the idea of, so you said you had two answers for that.
So first one, you can do anything but not everything. And that goes not only into workflows, like the sprints and like what you can manage at a time, but it goes into the fullness of your life. So you can earn probably $1 million if that's really what you want to do. I believe if all of us really prioritize and put all of your energy into making money and disregarded anything else, social life, relationships, family, health, you will make that money. You will do it. However, what are you sacrificing? That's okay as long as you are honest with yourself and you don't get FOMO when that guy over there has got a beautiful family of 3 and you're like, damn, I never had kids. If that's what you want now, well, you prioritize. You can do anything but not everything. So who are you? What life do you want to live and what do you want? A doctor has to sacrifice a lot and he makes a lot of money in the end. A school teacher doesn't make as much, but hopefully they get a better life balance. Unfortunately, I don't think that's probably true right now. But, So my core values, the life that I want to live, I prioritize my daughter and my female friendships. These are things that are really important to me. My friends text me, I want to be able to go. I don't want to make $1 million. Like, that's not my priority. And I probably won't ever make $1 million because I haven't prioritized it. I'm not going to moan I don't have any money, though, that I haven't made this $1 million, because I can do anything but not everything. How do you want to live? Be deliberate in the life that you're living. How do I get there, and what do I want? I would like a business that 20 years from now, people say, oh, I teach yoga. I actually got into yoga at a place called SALA. Oh, I quit my corporate job, and actually I now do this other thing that I thought was just a hobby. I actually got the inspiration from the community that was at the time this place called SALA. That's when I look in 20 years of my life, they're the conversations that I would like to be had in the community, rather than like, hey guys, come visit me in Herne Bay. I've got a huge pool. Like, that's not what gets me out of bed, and that's okay. However, if you're someone and that is what you want, that's okay too. But be honest about it. Say it out loud. Be like, I want a fucking pool and I'm going to make it. Don't be all coy and half-handed about it. Be like, here's what I want, and that's okay. But no, you're going to have to let go of something else. Don't moan that your husband is always at golf because you're always at work and like, I feel disconnected in my relationship. Well, if you've chosen to work 60 weeks to get your pool, that's fine, but don't be FOMO about what might not have happened because of that. So be deliberate in the life you're living and make sure it really is hidden to where you want to go. I'm not saying you need to prioritize family. I don't think we should all be having children actually for the environment's sake. I don't think everyone needs to get married. I think that men are really annoying. In a perfect world, I would just have one that comes to visit me and then leaves. That's fine. And so you don't need all of these things.
I want my own bedroom. Like, like the thought of having to share a bed with someone my whole life.
That's the best part.
No, like I like it, but I also, if I want to go and have some Sophie time, I love a spoon.
I hate sharing a bed. I hate spooning.
Just like, I would really want a starfish. I want a real good night's sleep.
Get a Super King then.
Fine.
But I have to,
Are you about to say we can have it all?
No, I don't think we can have it. I agree. I love that line. You can do anything, but not everything. I love that. I think what I kind of find difficult to not agree with you on, but is that personally in my life right now, I'm like, I want to work my fucking ass off and make sacrifices, whether it's spending time with friends, going on holiday, whatever, because I want that work-life balance and I want to be there for my children and I want to be able to take time out of work and step aside and spend time with them. And I want to be able to take them on holidays and have that quality time, but I need to work my ass off now so I can have that, rather than, and I think it's because you're obviously at a different stage than I am. You've got Ophelia, so you're probably ahead of that. You're probably in that stage already. But do you know what I mean? It's kind of, and we've always talked about prioritizing future, work hard, put away, invest, save, all of that, make those sacrifices now so then you can have that house or the pool, whatever you want in the future. But yeah, so it's kind of, I feel like I'm in the phase of making sacrifices now and putting so much time and effort into work. And I've even had friends being like, "Beck, we never see you." My family even said that. And I'm like, you know what? I think this is the time of my life where I know
you're okay with that decision right now.
I'm okay that's the thing.
And
if you're
okay
with
it in my personal life, to be honest, as well. I'm 35, and I'm not a mother or anything, like in terms of my body. So I guess I am okay with it, but it's kind of, I feel like you probably become your master of your own destiny as well.
100%. And I think as long as you're okay with it, whereas I have a really different approach to living, and I've always had it even when I first opened SALA. So I do not want to jeopardize having fun, like enjoying my life in a very spiritual way. I'm a little bit hedonistic in the way that I want to have a good time now. I don't want to wait till I'm 60 to have a nice time. I might get hit by a car tomorrow. I'm having fun. I'm going to the party tonight on a Tuesday. I'm staying up all night with my friends talking shit. I don't care. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice like my living.
Because I think I'm like, your hair, like Sarah, like quite physically and literally is on this side of the room and Vic is on this side of the room. And I'm standing in the middle being like, I kind of want to be here, but I also want to be here. I think what I'm finding really hard at the moment is, maybe it's similar to what you're trying to explain as well, Vic, is I also am really hedonistic. I love having fun. I love the finer things in life, but I also want to be present and enjoy now and really acknowledge the fact that my life could be really short. You have no idea what's going to happen. And I find that a really difficult struggle, both personally and also from a business perspective. Like, how much time and energy you put into your business now to grow it for later, as Vic was saying, while also sitting down and meditating and spending time with my family now and doing the things in the moment that feel good. And I honestly find it really, really difficult, especially in a capitalist society where we are told you need money to survive.
And you do. They've done a pretty good job. Like, it's a very pay to play, so especially here in Auckland. You know, you think about when you're in London, everyone's in the park drinking beers, and that's what you do in the evening. You know, here it is pay to play. Everyone's out for dinner. Everyone is, you know, Auckland, I think, is particularly challenging to live freely.
I would like to talk about the idea that you are now going to be working more closely with your partner, husband, Josh, who we love, the cocktail man. How does it feel working and having your love integrated and connected to your form of making money? And does that feel threatening in the sense that they're both so closely linked? Because I
would
think that
say
would scare
SALA
me.
has successfully eroded a lot of that love over the last few years. So I don't think that's a worry.
So do not go into business with your partner.
Do not own a business with your partner. Actually, do not. That's probably my best advice. Do
But
not
do you think
start
you've
a business.
become closer?
Yeah,
Like,
but do you want to be closer as partners, or do you want to be closer as like lovers? And is
lovers,
is there a
definitely.
lot of like sexy friction between you when you're like, did you see the numbers today? Like, no, that's not cute. I
my
don't
gosh.
want to see your penis after hearing about numbers. I'm just not excited about any of this.
What if I put the
That's
numbers on my
involved.
penis?
In fact, put your top back on. My accountant's got to stop off. Yeah, it's a bit much.
But I think you can have both.
Nah, I disagree. I don't want to be talking. I don't want that
Lovers,
stuff.
partners.
Nah.
I-
though.
But all
Like,
of the layers just really merge, and there's no defined parts of your relationship.
Vic thinks I'm hitting on her. I don't mean do you want to go on a date or have you ever thought about having sex with me? I just mean like the relationship we had as friends before working together is so different because what comes out when you both have a shared passion for something and there's money involved, it's emotional, there's conflict, that's just natural.
Yeah, true.
Imagine then also wanting to have sex with that person. I don't know. I feel like I would feel somewhat trapped by having both of those things in the same place.
I personally feel very trapped by it. I have these very strong urges sometimes just to like start running. It's like I'm not even like saying that like metaphorically. Like
put your
sometimes
shoes on.
I literally think I just need to run. Not because I want to leave. I just need to find a place to be free in the world. I feel very bound by owning a business also that is like bricks and mortar and so physical. People expect so much from you. People will send me messages before my class being like, I really need a big awakening tonight. Can't wait for class. And they're trying to be like funny and like supportive, but it's a lot of pressure.
God,
I'm like, damn, better think about something spiritual quick when I've just been Tuesday night I teach at 5:30. I work, I
going to
go
the
get
class.
Ophelia at 3. Josh rushes home so that I can go teach by 5:30. I get home, I still have to like put her to bed. You know, like I'm merging in and out constantly of these parts of myself. And that's why I try to set the boundaries so they're very separate so that they don't just blur. It's like now I'm at work, now I'm teaching, now I'm a mother. And I think sometimes it's hard to set those boundaries and separations when you're running a business with your partner, because where does the line stop of business partners to take your clothes off?
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine it.
I mean, if the business is doing well, you'd be like, take your clothes off.
Would you?
Yeah. Be like, those numbers, they were great.
But then also what's the flip side of that? But what's the flip side? You know, you're also hanging your happiness within your relationship on your financial success.
And that is
That's
actually,
art.
and I think that's where it is. So when SALA is doing financially better, there is a direct correlation between Joshua's like mood and love for me. It won't really be that, but it feels like he loves me more when Sala's going well. So in my perception of our relationship, I'm lovable most when Sala is successful, which I don't always feel in control of.
I guess there's pluses in terms of people might be listening to this and be like, oh, but they get to spend so much time together, you know, rather than both going away, working all day separately and then coming together. But I mean,
that's true. I mean, also I can't really talk from that place because I've never had and Josh has always worked really heavily on Sala by force because there's so many things that I just don't know how to do, like fix the Sonos. You know, I'm such a...
How annoying is Sonos though? Sorry.
Oh my God. Sonos, if you're listening to this, your products suck.
I've been warned about not getting a Sonos. I was like, oh, but everyone has
it. We're too deep now.
And then I got it.
My
and
dad is like
so they get you to pyramid scheme.
No. Like, cause my dad is like live and dies by the Sonos. If you like can't connect to the kitchen one, and he gets so defensive of Sonos. When they work, to be fair, they're amazing. But holy shit, they're temperamental.
Yeah,
that's like Josh. He's like, I'm like, have you got shares in like Sonos? Like, and hopefully you do because that might be our way out because it's not Sala.
One of the things I hear you speak about on social media quite a bit is the idea of the cultural like backdrop of entitlement that we see online a lot. And I would really like to hear your perspective on the idea of comparison being the thief of all joy.
Which I love that quote so much.
Yes. That's like definitely something that I also live a lot of Sala by. So like these boundaries that we have feed into this concept of what life do you want to live? What do you want to own within that life? Like what's possible? What are you going to prioritize? And I think that we, as a generation, maybe it's just a generation, like you think about our parents, they sort of worked towards their dream house that they had in like their 60s. Whereas I do feel like there's a sense in our generation of wanting everything now, like wanting big cars and we wanting the house with the pool now, wanting all of the nice things now, but wanting them so early and that's been facilitated by an afterpay lifestyle and credit cards, which probably weren't available previously, and being able to get credit and overdraft so much easier than before, that people are leaning on these as tools of that sort of their resource, when really I'm really anti-credit card. I know that you guys maybe have a different idea.
Oh no, I don't trust myself.
But I've got no impulse control.
Yeah, no,
ADHD, no impulse control. So actually I cannot.
Vic must feel so suffocated. She's been honestly surrounded by ADHDers lately.
Yeah, and we are insufferable, but we are fun.
We're so fun.
We know how to party. And we will live by that.
I'm annoying. Just give me a drink.
Just give me a drink.
But I think that has generated a culture of entitlement of that we should have all these things and we'll go out of our way to get them or to make others feel as though we've got them. I think that, you know, by the conversations that I have with people are really willing to get themselves into debt or pay things off incrementally just to appear like they can have that thing now. And I'm like, if you hear something that I live by as well, I think I said this probably in the last one. This is from Jay-Z.
Jay-Z,
my spiritual leader, that is Jay-Z. Apart from obviously your house, but if you can't afford it in cash, you cannot afford it. Like honestly, I live by that.
But I agree. I think the idea of what success looks like on social media is in tangible things, and people like to have that very seen in public. And it's interesting because the more we learn about money and wealth, the more I realize actually people that have money don't have things.
And actually, you guys said something recently that I spoke to Josh about it, and we've been trying to integrate it into our life, is wealth isn't just like what you make, it's what you don't spend, which I think is amazing. When I can't remember one of you guys said that, and I was like, oh my God. And then I worked out only spending $27 a day on crap like coffees and stuff is $10K a year. And I was like, hey, I could have $10K to buy something actually hectic.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you know, fuck it. I just accidentally made this money by not buying coffees. I'm going to buy a Rolex or whatever, you know.
But how do you block out that noise and those images in social, apart from literally deleting Instagram, but like, you know, wanting to keep up and wanting to have those nice things, and because you want that sense of belonging. And if like, I guess all your friends or your community or society is doing it. You want to belong.
But I think that it's also as well, it's not about not allowing yourself to have anything. And, you don't have to just wear bamboo shoes and be like, I'm out of the system. I think that it's prioritizing like, okay, I do want some of these things. Being a part of community and socially accepted is a survival mechanism that is embedded into me as a human. I don't want to be ostracized from my community. I want to look like I exist, but I'm going to choose the things that bring me genuine happiness. So for example, I teach a teacher training every year. It actually is quite a big finance generator, and that's why you'll see. So the teacher trainings is May. We always do our fit outs June because it pays towards the next fit out. So we always do an expansion. Often you'll see June, July is our time because I make this money and I directly input it all into reinvest it into the studio. However, every single time I take 5K out for myself that I'm allowed to buy any, and it has to be actually something crazy, not buying something like very sensible and but I brought like an acne leather jacket one year. I've worn it like 4 times, but I'm going to have it forever, And I think that, but that's like once a year. It's like my annual sale. Like it comes around once a year and I work really hard for it. The teacher training is quite intense. I work like on top of what I already do. I do like 25 hours every weekend for 6 weekends. So like I'm working for that money.
So taking what Vic just said around the idea of how do we go against the grain when it comes to when you want stuff, but then also you can't have everything. How can we, because I struggle with this all the time.
It's exhausting.
I love clothes. I love like nice things. I think I would be totally lying if I said I could wear bamboo shoes for the rest of my life and be a happy girl. I don't think I could. But at the same time, I know that things mean more to me than stuff. But how can we translate that into our everyday spending and the way that we show up in a work and financial sense?
And it comes back to the conversation we were having earlier around, we could die tomorrow or, life's so short. And so there's people that are like, let's live in the moment. Let's buy things now and enjoy them while we have them because we are going to be dead and have nothing. And
okay. It's very hard because we're saying a lot of conflicting things. So it's about, I think, let's for a moment just extract all of these like conversations, let them just like wash away, come back to your core values. Who am I? What's the life that I want to live? What's involved in that life? And then it creates an orbit. It's like, well, I want my family, I want my friends, these things, that's my orbit. I want to travel, that's my orbit. It's like, okay, how much work? I want to create something with purpose. I want to, and then you add in these layers. So it has, of course, like when I say you could just die tomorrow, that doesn't mean to spend all of your money. I am also thinking about the future because, and trying to invest in things in a way that is for the future, not just for yourself, but so you're leaving something for your children in case anything did happen to you. But so you've got to think, do I want this? Because I think it's going to look great. It's going to make me feel good. Or is it because I need validation? Because if you always seek validation, the pit is just endless and you're going to fill it. No amount of things will fill it because this top's going to make me feel good, but so is doing at the same time, it's a multi-pronged living approach. So a yoga class, nutritious food, good conversation with your girlfriend, they're all just as important. They don't all cost money. Some do, some don't. You can't sway too far. You know what it's like. You can love your friends, but you do too many social hangs and you're burnt out. You go too far the other way. And want nice things. You buy some things, you feel good. Oh, now I feel guilt and shame for spending so much money. Yeah. So when I buy something, I'm like, oh, do I really want that? Or is it everyone else got it? Because if I'm getting it because everyone else has got it, what I'm looking for is validation and to feel a part of something. And getting this item isn't going to fill that.
I'm kind of, sometimes I get exhausted with how much I've got to think about and figure out. I've got to do some boundary work. I need to figure out what things actually bring me joy when I spend money. I've got a big list.
And then it's that to create a better life just creates more stress because all the things you have to do in order to create a better life. It's
shitballs.
Yeah, it's like, oh gosh, I'll get to that later.
But I think that it's also, I agree. I feel like life is, particularly lifey. Like life is just real lifey. Right now, I feel like we're in a really lifey period. I don't know whether it's that thought is. And actually, you just got to come back to, as often as possible, we all forget, but coming back to like what's really important. You know, you have those notes, I read it today, and it's like you have those notes and you look over at your friends, just like carling over laughing, you're like, this is what it's for. This is it. You know, this is life.
And it's like, be compassionate, and it's like, I don't know.
I saw this meme. I wish I could show you, but we're using my phone to film. And it's like, it's a Drake song, and it's this girl who's the meme is basically like, go to my to-do list to try and find something in my notes and find a really heavy paragraph that I wrote like the day before. And I was like, that is me. I think maybe it is just taking the pressure out. Like, money is stressful, life is stressful, trying to get it all right is stressful. Sometimes
comparing yourself to others is stressful.
God,
like,
you've just got to give yourself a break and do the best you can with. I think one of the biggest takeaways for me in this conversation is the idea of defining what is important to you, what is important in your life, and then distributing your resources in terms of time, effort, love, money, in a way that you're going to look back when you're 80 and be like, I'm really glad I made those decisions.
I didn't answer any of the things about running a business.
I know.
I really didn't want to talk about spirituality.
No, I think
just
it
can't
was really
stop
good.
myself.
I think it was like, hey, we can always do a part 3.
I had such a long, very serious business list.
But we'll do a part 3, and then because people have short memories, remember? We need to keep SALA alive.
But it was so professional. No one is going to ever think I know how to run a business. I'm just fucking
I love that this was the concept, was like, I actually just need to prove that I know what I'm, that I'm actually doing.
I need validation from other people that I don't know that I deliberately run a business. And I'm not just like,
you run an amazing business. It's like incredible. If people want to know where to go to learn about the beautiful space that is SALA, that I love going to, where should they go?
We do have an online studio. If you go via the website, sala.studio, it will take you to an online portal where you can actually practice inside the studio with all of our teachers, but from the comfort of your own home. You can even just lie on the sofa and watch it on the TV. You don't even have to do any of the actual exercise. That's the best kind of gym.
But yeah, you do have a studio in Ponsonby in Auckland, and it's incredible. It's such a beautiful space. You should be very, very proud of it, because I absolutely love going there when I come back from London. Oh, I love it. So, but no, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
And I'm sure Soph would say the same, but she's had to run to the bathroom. So, but thank you so much.